Hi, Karime Valencia, and I'm just going to talk about phonological and phonemic awareness for my ECE40 class, which is Developing Language and Early Literacy in Young Children. So what is phonological awareness? It is a skill that includes identifying and manipulating units of oral language, such as words, syllables, onsets, and rhymes. An example, students who have obtained this skill are able to identify and make oral rhymes, can clap out number of syllables in a word, and can recognize words with same initial sounds like dad and dog. D-D. Phonemic awareness. The focus and to manipulate individual sounds, known as phonemes in spoken words. What is a phoneme? It's the smallest unit comprising spoken language. Phonemes combine and form syllables. For example, CVC words. K, at. Phonemic awareness is important because it is what helps with spelling and word recognition. How phonological and phonemic awareness relates to literacy development in young children. Phonological and phonemic awareness are best taught in kindergarten and first grade, so they can be applied to sounding out words and phonics instruction begins. Some students, this can be their weakness. They require instruction with phonological and phonemic awareness beyond first grade. How early reading development is related to early literacy skills? Well, children listen to language, especially during read-alouds. They also interact with print, such as books, magazines, posters, street signs, and the alphabet, of course. Children will learn to combine what they know about speaking and listening with what they know about print, and learn to read and write. How do we teach early literacy skills and modify as well for students with exceptional needs? For print concepts, the way I would modify this activity is by modeling and by making it visual and make sure it's a hands-on activity. So for print concepts, I would teach them how to read words by using a book though. How do we use books? What do we need books for? How to use a book. We would read, say the words. We read from left to right, we read from top to bottom, make them understand that there are spaces between words and that books have a front and a back and they have a title and an author. And that's print concepts right there. The next early literacy skill that we would teach is letter naming. For this activity, I would use, of course, a visual aid for students with exceptional needs because they require that support system. So we would practice each letter name. We would sound and correspond the action to help straighten the letter sound correspondence as a whole group discussion to make sure that all students are engaged. So for example, A, what sound does the letter A make? A is for apple. The next early literacy activity would be vocabulary. I would develop a word wall. So I would make sure that words are visible and accessible to each student. They will think about and use them in their daily vocabulary. Students explore vocabulary through the curriculum. So I would provide pictures for them so they have a better understanding of the word, provide sentences as well, and as a whole group we would develop sentences and make sure that everybody is engaged. Students with exceptional needs would require a one-to-one discussion maybe so I could correct their vocabulary and help them better understand the vocabulary. The next early literacy activity would focus on phonological awareness. Obviously this is where rhyming words steps in, and it's also a fun activity. So I would just put on the board maybe a bunch of pictures of objects or things like a bat or an animal, cat, sat, rat, and all of them. So we would all say, as a whole group, we would say name each object and everything, and then the students will understand that all these words have the same ending sounds. Students will be given pictures of objects and they will name the objects and they will at the end determine if they rhyme. The next early literacy activity would be listening, but I would just combine listening and speaking together. And with this activity you could actually do a whole group to make sure that all students are engaged and all students are participating. Or you could have a center where each student has a headphone set, wearing them, and you just play the activity, and this is what the activity would be. So children will pay attention to a sound presented to them, whether it's transportation vehicle, an animal, or an instrument, or any type of sound. So they would listen for it, wait for it, and then students will state what it is in a sentence. So like, let's say we play an airplane flying by. The students will say, they listen to it, and then they will speak, and they will form a sentence, something like, that sounded like an airplane. The next early literacy skill, and the last one, would be comprehension. Comprehension for little kids, the ages between preschool and kindergarten, I would do a picture walk with a book. So I would present a book to them, and we would, as a whole group, or maybe one-to-one, just look at the pictures. One-to-one with a student with exceptional needs, of course, but as a whole group, just focus on the pictures of the book. And I would just ask the students, what do you think this book will be about? What is this? Oh, it's a bunny. Oh, you think the story will be about bunnies? Oh, it's a caterpillar. Oh, so on. With WH questions about the pictures, it will help the students build comprehension skills. And that concludes my examples, definitions, explanation on phonological and phonemic awareness.